We're live from Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and affiliates across Ghana, including Kaliewo FM in Akachi, Clenham Radio in Bato, and A1 Radio in Bolgatanga. You can also download the My Joy Online app from Play Store and App Store to listen live on the internet as well as on Facebook. In this edition, cracks within the opposition NDC in Parliament deepens as North-Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa resigns from the Appointments Committee following controversy over the approval of President Akufo-Addo's ministers.
On some of the questions, he was too evasive. Really, all my three questions. The one with PIAC, for example, he says he still has to hold meetings with PIAC.
This afternoon, we have details of a crisis meeting called by the NDC's Council of Elders over the matter. Plus, we hear from the minority leader himself, who has mounted a strong defense of his decision to approve the ministers.
The public have expressed some disquiet about some of the approval processes. We will learn and be guided by it. But let it be said that we have acted in accordance with law and we have acted in accordance with the 1992 Constitution.
We have details on that also coming up. Last-ditch plea for mercy. Some Ghanaians plead with President Akufo-Addo to minimize their hardship.
I feel it's going to bring a lot of problems to us because of the pandemic.
Government should increase tax now because, as we know, the COVID has made people to lose part of their salary. Some have lost their jobs.
We have more as the president prepares to assent to the appropriations bill, which introduces fresh raft of taxes approved by Parliament last night. Energy Ministry moves to avoid unannounced power outages by demanding that independent power producers provide schedule of planned maintenance of power plants. We have details plus more on why you need to brace yourself for PURC's review of electricity and water tariffs in sports.
We have a special package for you as we hear from the first ever Japanese player in the history of the Ghana Premier League.
Can't wait for that. And in our Ghana Man series, we'll take you to the Ashanti region to explore the significance of the porcupine in the Ashanti culture.
Kotoko, that is how the name was given to this rodent animal. It hides.
That and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. This is your home of fearless, independent and credible journalism. Thanks for your company. This afternoon, cracks within the NDC side in Parliament has further deepened as North-Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa resigns over controversy about approval of President Akufo-Addo's ministers. In a letter dated 30th March and addressed to the Speaker, Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbing, he explained that this was after days of careful reflection and thoughtful considerations. Joining sources say the latest decision was triggered by the approval by consensus of the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. We have details of that shortly, but first, listen to what the North-Tongue MP told Joy News after the first day of vetting of Ken Ofori-Atta.
I wouldn't want to make that public at this point. Let's see how things pan out tomorrow. He still has a lot of questions to answer. And you notice that on a lot of the questions, he has been evasive. And normally, leadership will be taking notes. So you can trust that the Honorable Muntaka and Honorable Haruna Idrisu will seek to press him further on all of those outstanding matters. So let's see if he will be more convincing than he was today. But as you know, I do not like to disclose how I'll vote before I vote. When I do vote, I'm sure we can discuss how I voted. Just as a matter of principle, I don't want the nominee to say that even before the process is concluded, some of us probably were prejudiced or had a preconceived intention. So please bear with me.
So that's the North-Tongue MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa there speaking to us after the first day of the vetting of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, Finance Minister. Now, events are unfolding pretty quickly. We have our parliamentary correspondent, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, on this beat, covering all the angles for us. He joins us live via Zoom. Parker, a lot to chew on this. First, let's talk about the resignation. What do we know are the reasons for this?
So, MFA, my source tells me that the reason for Mr. Ablakwa's resignation is basically because of the approval of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta as the finance minister. In fact, my source tells me that the NDC caucus offered a conditional approval, i.e., they requested some information from the finance minister. And that is one, the procurement contract between the Ghana Revenue Authority and McKinsey and the group, and also the terms of engagement with staff from the data bank to the finance ministry. They wanted to know how the finance ministry settled on these individuals from data bank. And again, how come the Bank of Ghana approved about 12 billion Ghana cedis for government financing in the year 2020 without recourse to Parliament? So these were some of the information the minority asked the Finance Minister, Kenneth Ferretta, to provide the committee. And based on that, if the answers provided are satisfactory, then they can approve his nomination. But again, they made the point that if he doesn't do that, then they will subject his approval to secret ballot. So it was a collective decision by the NDC caucus, only for them to get to the plenary to see that their leadership have agreed to the approval of Mr. Kenneth Ferretta. So my source tells me Mr. Blacker is disappointed. The research, the sleepless nights, the emotional drain yielded no result. And as a matter of fact, he has decided to discontinue his membership on the appointment committee because he thinks that whatever it is that he's doing to ensure that they keep the feet of Mr. Ferretta to the fire has yielded no result. And that is why he has decided to quit from the appointment committee.
Okay, so let's talk about reactions to this decision taken by the North Tongue MP. First off, I know that Parliament is on recess, but there's a lot happening now. What's the reaction in Parliament? And then we head to the party.
Well, so let's focus on the NDC caucus. The members of the minority, those that I spoke to, are upset with the decision taken by Mr. Blacker. They think that this will further deepen the perception that some individuals may have been compromised in the process, particularly in the approval of Kenneth Ferretta, Kojo Ponkoma, Howard Komsin, and Dr. Owusu Efeyi-Akoto, the Agric Minister. And it is their view that Mr. Blacker should have faced things slowly and probably should have sought for more counsel before going out public with his decision to resign. So the minority MPs are divided. There are some who also think that, well, he's a man of principle. If he has decided to go solo, then that be it. They should throw that weight behind it. So that is the reaction we are getting from members of the minority.
And we know that the Council of Elders are currently meeting the NDC caucus. Tell us more about it.
So this meeting, we are told that is largely because of some agitation amongst the minority members, again, on the approval of Mr. Kenneth Ferretta. So the General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asedin Ketia, the Chairman of the party, Samuel Ofusantofo, and other members of the Council of Elders are currently in a meeting the NDC caucus as we speak. So Haruna Idusu is also in the meeting together with Muntakambarak and all the other NDC MPs. So we are told that the meeting is going to last for an hour. When they are done, Mr. Asedin Ketia tells me he's going to give me some details of what may have transpired in the meeting.
Well, Parker, and just before I let you off briefly, have you spotted the North Tongue MP himself, and how is he doing?
Yes, I saw him this morning. He has a very calm demeanor. In fact, when I got a reaction from the minority MPs, those who are upset about his decision, I comforted him with some of the concerns they raised, and his reaction to me was that, well, he's here to serve the people of North Tongue constituency. Even though some say that he's engaging in populism, he disagrees with them. He knows that the good people of North Tongue who were upset with the decision of the minority to approve Kenneth Ferretta will be happy with him that he has finally decided to go solo on this matter. And in fact, remember that the Borga Central MP, Isaac Adongo, also distanced himself from the approval of Mr. Kenneth Ferretta. And for Mr. Blacker, it's a good move, and he believes that all the minority MPs who do not subscribe to the approval of Mr. Kenneth Ferretta should come out and make their decision public.
I was not at committee to have the full facts with which they made a decision to go consensus. But having had consensus, you cannot be agitating on the floor. And so it didn't make sense whether I was there or not. But at least symbolically, that if there was nobody who was peeved, I was peeved. And I wasn't ready to be there. And I want to assure the people of Ghana that my being quiet in the last couple of days over the approval of this man was precisely because I had chosen my battle. It had nothing to do with me being compromised. or anybody having spoken to me. In fact, they dare not, because they wouldn't.
Have you reached out to your leadership as to why they decided to agree by consensus on this?
I don't have to. A decision has been taken. We need to move on.
Now, Zaborga's Tanga Central MP Isaac Adungo there yesterday criticizing the minority leadership for consenting to the approval of Ken Ofori-Atta as finance minister. You also heard earlier my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson from Parliament monitoring that Council of Elders meeting. Will bring you more subsequently. Now, a former MP for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak, has been reacting to the North Tongue MP's resignation, and he says it's a vote of no confidence in the Haruna Idrisu-led minority in Parliament.
Very heartwarming. I am not surprised. I know that in the minority caucus are men and women of integrity, conviction politicians. And yesterday, I'm sure you heard Adongo distance himself, from the approval. What Ablako has done is courageous. And he and the many other conviction politicians amongst the minority caucus have to be celebrated and encouraged, to hold on to their principle.
Former MP for Kumbungu, Ras Mubarak there. Let's give you a chronology of events at this point. Joseph Akable joins me in studio. Joseph, let's start from the election of the Speaker. It looks like a lot happening in Parliament. Let's start from there.
Alban Gbabin, a former NDC MP, defeated Professor Michael Kwe, a former NPP MP, on January 7 to become Speaker of Parliament. This election was chaotic. Ballot papers were snatched, voting booths and ballot boxes kicked around as the NDC MPs policed the election. It's worth noting that this is a Parliament that has 137 NDC MPs, same number for the MPP, with one independent candidate who said he would do business with the MPP. The NDC MPs, after getting their preferred candidate become Speaker, served notice that they will not be pushed around because of the equal strength.
Now, then came the vetting.
When the list of the ministers designate was announced, the NDC MPs indicated that they would do a thorough job. They vetted and raised concerns about some of their nominees. For Fisheries and Aquaculture Minister designate then, for instance, Hawa Kumsin, they described the performance at the vetting as abysmal. It came down to secret voting, and despite the near equal numbers on both sides, this particular point here, among with others, secured more than 50% of the valid votes. And so this means that some NDC MPs actually voted for approval.
And this did not sit well with the party.
Yes, Communication Officer Sami Jemfi wrote an article on Facebook that took on the Speaker of Parliament, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, and Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak, accusing them of serving their own interest as against the interest of the party. Mr. Gbabin later in an interview said he was Speaker of Ghana's Parliament and not Speaker of any party.
And the party intervened.
It held meetings with its leaders in Parliament and called for calm. The approval of Ken Ofori-Atta, however, brought fresh issues. You heard that sound of Mr. Blackwell earlier raising concerns and saying that if he was required to approve Mr. Ofori-Atta on the first day of vetting, he would not have approved him. However, when the approval issue came up, he was approved, and the indication was that it was by consensus, meaning that all members of the appointment committee, including the NDC MPs, voted for his approval. A former regional youth organizer of the NDC, Boja Jemfi, was not impressed.
The noise and the brouhaha that greeted the approvals of certain ministers by the appointment committee. And so with the passage of time, anybody would have thought that going into this vetting, the appointment committee knew that, eyes will be watching. And so for them to have come to that conclusion, I am thinking that, they had a deep thought about it, and they have concluded that, some of the issues that we have raised are not so serious to prevent a public officer from continuing his job. And so if that is the conclusion, if that is the case, then I strongly believe that I should apologize to the minister. And that's what I have done.
Now, before Parliament went on recess in the early hours of this morning, the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, had this to say.
At the Appointments Committee, we have endeavored to scrutinize the ministerial nominees of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and to subject them to the minimum test of the Constitution and other requirements of law. The public have expressed some disquiet about some of the approval processes. We will learn and be guided by it. But let it be said that we have acted in accordance with law, and we have acted in accordance with the 1992 Constitution. I should thank the first Deputy Speaker and the second Deputy Speaker and commend them for learning the ropes, particularly the second Deputy Speaker, who is warming up to the task.
That's Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu. We have more on that subsequently also on myjoyonline.com. Now on to some other stories. President Akufo-Addo is expected to shortly assent to the appropriations bill passed by Parliament late last night. Now these new taxes will see consumers pay more for fuel and transactions that have value-added tax components. George Riafi of our business desk looks at how this will affect Ghanaians.
Government is, for instance, placing 20 pesos on per litre of petroleum products and 10 pesos as sanitation and petroleum levy as well on fuel. Now, this should result in the price of petroleum products going up by some 5.7%. The development will definitely lead to the cost of living going up, looking at the impact of fuel prices on the broader economy. Government also wants to review road tolls. All this could definitely make a strong case for commercial drivers pushing for an increase in transport fares from next quarter. This may lead to the cost of living going up in the country. The budget also announced a 0.5% increase in the National Health Insurance Levy and 0.5% increase in the VAT flat rate scheme. This would increase VAT from 18.12% to 19.12%. Now, this will result in prices of goods and services that attract VAT actually going up since it's a consumption tax. Commercial banks will also absorb or pay 5% of their profit before tax to the state.
And these taxes were given legal backing late last night, but it was not without some controversy, as the minority insisted the ordinary Ghanaian will bear the brunt. Listen to the arguments on the floor of Parliament.
Government has not accounted for the over 8 billion that is spent in the name of COVID. Of the 8 billion, how much went to stimulate businesses and to support the private sector to protect their jobs and to create or protect additional jobs?
We are going to provide for 20 million people, 2 dosages. In other words, 40 million at $26 per vaccine. How much is it? Mr. Speaker, it is free, paid for by the states. Protecting lives and livelihoods is certainly a shared responsibility.
Now, those of you who have been sharing your thoughts with us say life will be tough for you in the coming days.
Government should increase tax now because, as we know, with the COVID has made people to lose part of their salary. Some have lost their jobs. So increasing taxes now is like pushing more burdens on the citizens, which people doesn't like. If you are increasing taxes, should be at pushed at a place where people didn't feel it that much. But whilst we are increasing tax and we are not seeing much development, much people wouldn't be happy with such increment.
I feel it's going to bring a lot of problems to us because of the pandemic. So I prefer the government should reduce the tax rather than increase the tax rather, because it's going to affect the country.
Times are hard. Our leaders don't think about we the young ones. They don't experience the hardship we do. If they did, they will understand our situation. If the taxes go up, it affects our businesses.
Some of your views there. Now we focus on the power sector, and the Energy Ministry has moved to ensure that it has ample information on when independent power producers will turn off their plants for routine maintenance. This, he says, will ensure that power consumers are informed of possible outages. Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh held a meeting with the IPPs where he asked for their maintenance schedule, saying that it will ensure transparency to the people of Ghana. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has meanwhile hinted of a major tariff review for both electricity and water this year. Bawa Munkaila is head of public relations at the PURC.
Currently, we are at the pre-filing stage.
So you've already written to the utilities?
Currently, we've held consultations with the utility as to the content of the template that they will be using for their filing.
Now, this is coming on the heels of numerous complaints by consumers of unannounced power outages they say have left them highly distressed.
The doomsaw, as we all know, is back because we have been experiencing from time to time light out. It's very sad upon all we passed through and all the promises the government also said. But up to now, the thing keeps on recurring.
It's really affecting me so much because what I do, I use light. Even sometimes Sunday church service light off. Coming Saturday, I have serious wedding, so they shouldn't do any light off. They told us that everything is okay. Now we don't know whether it is load shedding or whatever. We don't know.
And currently, it's really affecting us because when you look at the shop, we are running a computer shop and we deal with light, and everything is about light.
This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM, also on myjoyonline.com. Our top stories: cracks within the opposition NDC in Parliament deepening as North Tongu MP Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa resigns from the Appointments Committee following controversy over the approval of President Akufo-Addo's nominees or ministers. We've been hearing also about that crisis meeting called by the NDC's Council of Elders with the NDC caucus in Parliament over the matter. When we return, we have sports, and in our Ghana Man series, we take you to the Ashanti region to explore the significance of the porcupine in the Ashanti culture.
Kotoko, that is how the name was given to this rodent animal. It hides.
Thanks for your company. Let's do sports with Oreko and Poforeko.
And in fact, there is another Joy Sports exclusive, as this time Ebusia draft striker Jindo Morishita, who is the first ever Japanese player in the Ghana Premier League, spoke to my colleague George Ado Jr.
What's it then? I'm from Jindo. Me fi Japan. Moboma draft Chelsea. Muse fancy kakra kakra. Merasi. Muse fancy kakra kakra.
Are you able to interact with the people?
Yeah, I'm interacting. I love how the local people here, the Ghanaian people, how they communicate, including my teammates. Very friendly, very open-minded. I love them.
So just now we were training. I just asked him, come and stand in front. They say, what is the meaning? I say, Berejinaha. I say, Mintiase. So it's just fun.
Oh, funny pa, no horse pa. When you diagro joke in the other day, even your bass mukra, on the diagro, try say over to me, aka a trinity.
That was Jindo Morishita, who's the first ever Japanese to play in the Ghana Premier League. He says, Osia Fantika Krakakra. Now, the full interview comes over at 2 p.m. live on the Joy News channel.
Okay. I look forward to that. Oreko Ampofu, thank you very much. It's time to move around the country and find out what's happening. Joseph Akable is here with me. Joseph, let's start from Sunyani in the Bono region.
Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Esiama visited the Sunyani Airport management and staff and directed that it take steps to pull down all private and commercial buildings that have encroached airport lands.
Apart from the health issue that they themselves may not be good for them, future expansion is going to be a problem. We live in a country where people intentionally will go and build on government land. And any time that the government make attempt or decide to break it down, hey, the same people will say, oh, the government is wicked. Government will go and give them compensation. You will not give anybody compensation.
Well, we move to Bono East now, where the Minister, Kwesi Edujan, has charged the Lands Commission to fast-track registration of lands processes to avoid land disputes.
He made this call when he called on a team, the minister made this call when he called on a team from the Regional Lands Commission, paid a courtesy call on him as part of measures taken to establish a regional directorate for the commission in Techiman.
The process of acquiring or securing land for public activities is going to be enormous, and the work of the Lands Commission is so important. So I pray that we accelerate the process of registration of lands, especially the public lands that the government have secured for public activities. Most of the lands are not registered, and this makes it easy for encroachers because there aren't any registration.
Joseph, let's stay in that region because the Health Directorate has been talking about the vaccination exercise there.
The number of COVID-19 recorded cases among health workers there is increasing, so the Health Directorate is intensifying its vaccination exercise among the health workers to reduce the numbers. The region has, since the outbreak of the pandemic, recorded a total of 1,420 cumulative cases, with 474 of them being health workers.
Now take us to the Northeast region.
Managers of the Tamana Rice Processing Factory at Nasia say the company may be forced to lay off workers, reduce production, or shut down in the coming days if they do not get government support under the One District, One Factory initiative.
Now, Himingteria has a report from the Ashanti region. What's it about?
The Ghana Water Company has warned that 2 production dams there may shut down, putting water consumers in Kumasi in jeopardy. Here's his report.
An artist, Matthias Chobe,
Like many other residents who depend on the Ghana Water Company for drinking water, is unaware of the dam's current risk. Yet, he acknowledges the consequences if the dams are shut down.
If the dam should be closed down, I don't know how we are going to survive. So I think the necessary institutions need to take this very serious and then, take action.
Encroachers' activities are reducing the depths of the water facilities, putting the future of the Wabi and Barakasi dams in jeopardy. The Barakasi Dam has lost 3 meters of its 13-meter depth, while the Wabi Dam's 7-meter depth has sharply lost 5 meters. Every dam's catchment has been decreased by more than half due to illegal sand winning, farming and housing construction. Alfred Galanku and John Kopo are station managers for Owabi Dam and Barakasi Dams respectively.
If all the trees fell down, the evaporation will take place and the water will dry up. The source of obstruction, we have down, middle and upper obstruction to the treatment site. But due to siltation, the down and the middle have been silted. So we are now using the upper. In future, if the upper to silt, there will be no water flow to the treatment site.
And these activities together bring us a lot of challenges in the siltation and then in the pollution of our water.
Well, so let's stay a while longer in the Ashanti region because you have Ghana man from there. What are we talking about?
Yes, we are talking about the porcupine, Kotoko, as they say it in Akan, and it refers to an animal. It's a symbol of the Ashanti Kingdom, and we have some explanation in this report.
Asante Kotoko say! Asante Kotoko Tumaini is a football club, but traditionally the name is deeper than the game of soccer. Kotoko, the porcupine, represents the Asante army. The totem was bestowed on the football club, which has Asantehene as the life patron. Cultural historian, teacher Safo Kantanka, tells the story.
Kotoko, that is how the name was given to this rodent animal. It hides underground before it begins to shoot its squirrels. So that is how Kotoko. They also had it in mind that we will not go and attack, but we will defend ourselves when we are attacked. So upon studying the animals, they noticed that it is only the porcupine that defends itself when attacked.
The tribe once existed in units oppressed by Dentra people. In their quest for independence, the units came together to fight the tormentor.
Well, this man is a Kotoko fan, so I'm not surprised that we're talking about Kotoko. But let's end in the regional capital, Accra.
MFI, if you plan on going to the beach this Easter, forget it. Because the regional minister, Henry Korte, has directed the police and other security personnel to close down all beaches from Adan to the coastal boundary with the central region indefinitely to ensure sustained compliance with all COVID-19 safety protocols, especially during the festivities.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. It's time for showbiz. Mapitso Sebidi. Wow, you're looking... I can't say.
Please, we move. Have you heard of that phrase?
Yeah, we move always.
Move. Well, Stormboy released a freestyle titled We Move, and he's been talking a little bit about it.
We move, man, we move. Regardless of everything, we have to move, so we keep moving. It's a freestyle, I just decided to drop a freestyle. And when you are capable of representing your style in different forms, regardless of what it's called. It could be drill, it could be hip-hop, it could be R&B. I'm privileged to be able to, show versatility.
Yanko. Abi Yanko.
What's he saying?
Missy Yanko, we move.
And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top stories on myjoyonline.com. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa resigns from Parliament Appointments Committee was our top story also here on the Midday News. And Ablakwa's resignation, a vote of no confidence in Haruna Idrisu's leadership. That's according to Ras Mubarak. Parliament approved COVID-19 health recovery levy despite minorities' resistance. Ken Oforiatta sworn in as finance minister. That and more are stories that you've been reading on myjoyonline.com. You want to go there as well and read more. We have entertainment, business, sports, and other opinions as well. I am Emefa Apau. Thanks so much for your company. Relationships Part 5 with Pastor Mensa Otabil. You can't miss it.
You've worked hard for your money, and that is why we are constantly creating more secure and innovative ways for you to keep your money safe everywhere you go. Experience a safer and more secure way to do all your transactions